a military camp. They encounter a Captain Thalion, Borzalom. Yeah, we know. Barble! Some rumors. More missing supplies. Second breakfast. The bridge has collapsed! The bridge has collapsed! Bodies to lift the more seriously wounded out, because you don't want to move them around, right? Lord Silverian shows up. Cleared and used as a supply depot. Very suspicious. Boom! Meanwhile, the king finally has time for these two elves, who seem to be such busybodies around his palace and camp these days. But anyway, okay. What? We have... And of course, the players, mind you. Bob, Johnny, and Fleetwood's players have been sitting here listening to all this, and they have to try very hard not to metagame here. We were just wondering, we were helping out today, and we heard that special preparations were being made to protect the weapons supply. And what would that have been? What would that have been? The king does not want to tell them at first. I'm not telling you that. I'm not telling you that. We've only just met. I mean, you went and gathered the staff of Paranch for us. Thank you, but I cannot let you know. That is not your business. At this point, the brothers realize they have to tell the king why they are interested, and they do so. We have friends who have gone to keep watch over the weapons supply tonight. Well, that looks suspicious, doesn't it? What do you mean you have friends? That halfling and human you came with, what are they doing there? What do they think they can do? Why are they there? Are you the ones who've been stealing from us? Only the fact that the weapons began to go missing while the party was out of the valley, off on their fetch quest, only that fact keeps him from immediately having them arrested. But maybe you have Confederates here in the valley. Maybe you have others working with you. At this point, the queen, who's been in the room hanging back a little bit, says, "My lord, these men are innocent. They are not the thieves, nor anyone with whom they are associated." She has been quietly casting ESP in the background and reading the thoughts of these two elves. And what she reads, of course, is concern for their friends. Keep in mind, the players have heard what happened, but the characters have not. But they're worried that these special preparations, which they still assume as characters, must have been a spell or something. They're worried that may injure their friends. So she says, "My lord, they are not the thieves." He looks at her. She nods. He turns back. "Very well. Very well. 2 giant owls have been set to guard the glade. They hear and see nearly everything. Your friends may be in great danger." Oh no. Oh no, what are we going to do? There is only one way to avoid the owl's attack. Fine. And he withdraws from his robes a silver whistle. This whistle will call off the owls. They will know that you are friend. And he hands it to them, and Fleetwood says, "Does anyone else have a whistle like this?" "There are only 3. This one, and the ones held by Lord Silverian and Captain Thalion." One of them might be the thief. Now, the owls were only placed there this evening. The thieves have struck before, so that would be no proof at all. Oh, true enough. Okay, we need to go help our friends. And out they go. Meanwhile, Touchberry and Fofire have descended the ridge, keeping into the cover of the woods. They have descended the ridge and have come down to the level of the glade. They figure they'll watch here, covered by the forest. They won't go out into the glade unless they see something. They'll stay in here and watch from here. Great, okay. Fleetwood and Bob Johnny don't know the path that their friends have taken, don't know exactly where they are. They enter the canyon by the opening that they've been using all along to bring supplies in and out, and find that it is guarded by a stout company of elves, at least a dozen of them. They are stopped, and when they explain what they're doing, this sounds fishy as heck, right? This does not sound legit at all. They've heard nothing from the king. Fleetwood shows them the whistle, but it means nothing to these guys. These guards wouldn't have that kind of knowledge. All they know is that something is guarding the glade, and all they have to do is watch this main entrance to the, that's all they're doing. Finally, due to a high charisma, Fleetwood does convince them that he's not up to, mischief, and they agree that he can go in and find his friends with 4 guards accompanying. Okay, fine. Fleetwood and Bob Johnny both, accompanied by the 4 guards who make them march in between them, right? So they surround them, head into the forest. They stay off of the path. They don't go into the glade, because when Fleetwood says, they were up near the ridge, said, oh, that's very bad indeed. You'd be exposed up there. They head through the forest to see if they can find out where they are. Now, they did have a general idea where they were going. They talked it over beforehand, but they don't know exactly where. So in they go, up the ridge, under cover of forest, and they find the area, generally speaking, but they don't see anything, right? None of them are trackers, particularly. None of them have any, they don't have any specific skill in tracking, and, so they're looking around. Make a wisdom check. Okay? They each roll a wisdom check, trying to get their wisdom or lower on a 20-sided dice. Fleetwood fails it. Bob Johnny succeeds it. Out of the corner of your eye, you see 2 large, shadowy shapes heading for you. Meanwhile, Touchberry, Fowfire, crouching down below, you look up and see 2 shadows soaring over the canyon. The owls are out again. I wonder what they're after. All right, roll initiative, Fleetwood and Bob Johnny. They roll initiative, and they win the initiative, which means Bob Johnny has time to cry out, Fleetwood, the owls are coming! Fleetwood, who has had the whistle out the entire time, blows on it, and just in time, the owls, boom! The owls pull up, just put on the brakes just before hitting this little party. Of course, the guards had no idea this was going to happen. And Bob Johnny and Fleetwood, they knew there were giant owls out here. The guards were terrified. This huge owl, 20-foot wingspan, swooping at them. The owls flap and rise and begin to circle as Fleetwood trails off with a whistle and they disappear over the canyon. They must have a roost over there. Oof. They look around for any sign of Touchberry and Fowfire, but find nothing. Now, maybe your friends were eaten by those things. Let's go. No more of this foolishness. Enough is enough. Fleetwood and Bob Johnny really can't argue, so they are marched back down, again, under cover of the woods, back down the ridge. Meanwhile, Fowfire and Touchberry do see the 2 owls soaring back. They heard some commotion up there, a faint whistling sound. What on earth? They don't know anything about the whistle, of course. What on earth is that? They draw weapons and they get themselves good and ready to respond. Meanwhile, down through the forest goes the 2 brothers and the guards accompanying them. As they go, there is a rustling in the forest ahead of them, and the guards leap into action. Whoa, is this friends of yours? Are these your partners coming to kill us? Well, they all assume that this is Touchberry and Fowfire coming out of the woods at them, but of course Touchberry and Fowfire, the players, they've not moved. They're hunkered down waiting. Out of the woods steps a bedraggled, wounded elf. She is panting and exhausted, and she looks with pleading in her eyes. Help me, I must see the king. The guards leap at her, grab her, and begin to pepper her with questions, while one of the guards stays on Bob Johnny and Fleetwood with weapon drawn on them. Is this one of your confederates? Is this someone that you know? Are you working with this person? Now, this newcomer will say nothing more other than to identify herself as Muriel and to deny knowing Bob Johnny and Fleetwood, as they deny knowing her as well. No, we don't know this person at all. This is the first time we've ever seen this person, right? Meanwhile, Touchberry and Fowfire heard all of this happening, and so they have now made their way over, and they emerge just at this point, and the guards whirl on them, weapons drawn, and it repeats itself. Only Fleetwood, literally leaping between the guards and Touchberry, stops a fight from breaking out, because of course, Touchberry, you're gonna go at him with weapons? Seriously? Right? It almost gets ugly, but Fleetwood calms it down, and wishes he had memorized sleep that morning. Calms it down and says, no, don't. Just chill, everyone. These are our friends. These are the ones we were looking for. We told you they were here. We were looking for them. The guards, fine. But this Muriel, we need to take her to the king, all right, as a prisoner. So they grab her and march her off. Well, the players will follow along, right? They tag along. And the guards are kind of okay with that because it's getting them away from the weapons supply, out of the glade, Let's get them away from that. And maybe they should be thrown in prison too, is the muttering among the guards. Well, they don't end up doing that. But as they approach the military camp and the Elven palace, Fleetwood and Bob Johnny say, look, we've been working all day. We need to rest. They still haven't recovered all their hit points. We're going to rest. Touchberry, you and Foefire, we're going to be up all night anyway. Why don't you guys follow with Muriel? All right. That's what they do. So the halfling and the human go to follow the guards, and Muriel, she is taken, not to the Elven King. He's asleep. There are a set of caves in the side of the valley, and some of them have been used for storage or shelters. A couple of them have been turned into prison cells, and that is where she is put. She's locked in there with a guard, and the halfling and the human settle down to watch. They are looked at with great suspicion. What are you doing here? Why are you watching? We want to see how this turns out. I don't trust you. I don't trust you at all. So they make them give up their weapons. Right? They hold their weapons. And they keep them where they can see them. And as various elves come and go, night patrols, etc., they get some dirty looks and even some rude remarks from these elves who don't trust these outsiders. It takes all of Touchberry's forbearance to avoid starting an inter-demi-human war here, because Touchberry and Temper. Finally, though, the dawn comes, and they decide, okay, we're going to take this prisoner in to see the king, right? They get her out, and Touchberry says, I want to come along. Foefire, sure, I'll come along too. You know what? They're as good as prisoners anyway. Let's bring them. With their weapons, as Touchberry insists, fine, the guards pile up the weapons and bring along with, and they march them all over to the palace. In they go, and finally, the king is awake enough and finished his breakfast to come and see them. Touchberry all the while complaining that all he has to eat this morning is, iron rations, which he's gobbling out of his bag, while waiting for the Elven King. Finally, the Elven King comes in, and the Queen, and Muriel unfolds her story. 2 nights ago, I was crossing the bridge to return home after visiting with friends in the camp. I was heading south. As I reached the opposite end, an elf stepped out of the dark and began crossing the bridge as well. I greeted him with the normal greeting. He responded in very stiff, formal Elvish. I tell the players, this is like when I was in high school, I learned that to say good night. I took German because, it would be the least useful of the languages offered at my school. I took German and Latin, really. Anyways, I took German, and you learned how to say good night, guten Nacht. Guten Nacht. Or good evening, guten Abend, right? Guten Abend. Well, that's formal. Later, meeting Germans from Germany, they said, no, we don't say guten Abend, we say Naben. It'd be the same way if you met someone, you might say night, okay? So what she said was the Elvish equivalent of night, and this person responded, good night. Weird. So, she says, I took cover in the forest on the other side, and I watched. I couldn't see clearly because he was quite a ways away. The moon was about a quarter. But I could see that he paused at the middle of the bridge. He stood there for, maybe a minute, and then continued. Well, I thought, the view from up there is very nice. Maybe he's just appreciating the landscape. Many people stop there to look. It is gorgeous in the moonlight. Oh, well, I thought nothing more of it. Then the next day the bridge collapsed. And I was terrified, horrified. Why did you not report this to us? Well, because, you see, elves have this independent streak. She thought it would be better to go find the person and bring the whole case solved. Like, here's the person, he cut the ropes on the bridge, this is who did it, and with evidence and everything else. Elves are very independent-minded. This is why the staff is needed to gather them into an army. They want to do their own thing, right? They don't cooperate terribly well, even with each other. And so, in her mind, finding the perpetrator and bringing him to justice herself was better than alerting the authorities. So I searched for him, but I could not find him until yesterday, at around dusk. I saw him moving through the camp, and I followed. He left the camp, going west, and then stopped and looked around. I dove for cover. He did not see me, and he entered the forest. There is no path where he entered, but I followed, and I found, eventually, a hidden clearing. It is where the silver brook pours over the last drop and forming a waterfall and into the pool. There, in the thin moonlight, I saw the figure I had been following meet with another. I got as close as I could, which was none too close without being discovered. I got as close as I could and tried to listen, but I could not hear what they said. They spoke for some time, and then, the one I had been following changed. Changed? What do you mean changed? His shape altered. He became another. I screamed involuntarily, and he turned and saw me and began running for me. And as he approached, I could see no features. Flat, gray, featureless body and face. He charged at me. I ran, and as I looked over my shoulder, I saw him change again into a long-legged man. Chasing me now, faster, he caught up to me, dove upon me. I crashed to the ground. He mauled and assaulted me. I kicked and fought, briefly stunned him, and I ran off. I lost him in the woods. I don't know what that was. I went running through the forest. I did not want to go into the open for fear that he would see me. I made my way through the forest, and next thing I knew, I had crossed the supply glade down in the wooded area and come upon the guards. My lord king, there is some foul thing here. Now around this time, Lord Silverian and Captain Thalion arrive, having been alerted that there's a prisoner being questioned, that things have been happening, that there was business with the owls last night. They arrive, and they are told the story. Now, the PCs know a doppelganger. They know a doppelganger when they hear it. They make the correct assumption that a doppelganger is working in the area. They make the rather specious jump of logic to say that this is the same doppelganger that they fought way back in Babblebrook. They think this is the same one because they know they are the main characters of this campaign, and they assume that all the bad guys are personally after them. And Fleetwood even puts it this way. We defeated a doppelganger, we broke up his plans, now he hates us, and by extension he hates all elves. Oh, to think you are that important in the world. Anyway, they're right that it's a doppelganger. They're not right that he's there for them. Anyhow, they correctly identify a doppelganger. Now, at this point, they say, but these two could be doppelgangers. Captain Thalion could be a doppelganger. Lord Silverian could be a doppelganger. And the king says, and you could be doppelgangers. Right? Everyone's pointing fingers at each other. And the queen did not memorize ESP that morning, unfortunately. So she can't sort that out. So the king says, fine. Lord Silverian, what game did we play together when we were children? Silverian says, my lord king, we played 9 pins. Correct. Captain Thalion, 5 years ago when we battled the goblins, where was I wounded? In your left side, my lord king. Correct. These men are who they say they are. I don't know about the 4 of you. Silverian steps in and says, doppelgangers are foul creatures. He looks at the PCs. We must find the creature, wherever it is, and destroy it. Foul, deceitful, unnatural things. They are disgusting. Thalion speaks up. Investigating this is delicate. If we put word out that a doppelganger is loose in the camp, paranoia will set in. Everyone will be pointing at each other, just as we were moments ago. It will destroy any unity we hope to achieve among the clans. But we have to find it. We have to stop it.